Okay, so hey guys and welcome back to another Sport This Week video, and in today's video I've got basketball, baseball, tennis, football, NFL, UFC, Formula 1 and boxing news. If you are new around here though and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do need like the video, and let's get straight into it. So starting off this week, I'm going to start off with the basketball news. And so 76ers won 112-97 versus Raptors. Heat won 115-105 versus Hawks. Celtics won 114-107 versus Nets. 76ers won 104-101 versus Raptors. Bulls won 114-110 versus Bucks. Heat lost 111-110 versus Hawks. Bulls lost 111-81 versus Bucks. 76ers lost 110-102 versus Raptors. Celtics won 109-103 versus Nets, and Bulls lost 119-95 versus Bucks. So yeah, not too much basketball news as it is the start of the playoffs, which I think it started last week actually, but yeah, I'll be keeping up to date with that, and then we'll see an eventual winner of the NBA for this season. Moving on now, I'm going to go to the tennis news, where there is 3 tournaments going on this week, which I will mention when we get through to them. Starting off with the Porsche Tennis Grand Prix, which is a bit of a mix of, I suppose, F1 and tennis to call it that, but you know, Sabalenka took part in that. Sabalenka and Badoza won 2-0 versus Jabeur and Perez. Swiatek won 2-0 versus Lees, and then it was also the Serbia Open. And I'm just gonna kind of mix through all 3 of them here, so you might not know which one's which, but I'm sure if you have a look then you can find out. Djokovic won 2-1 versus Jerry. Barcelona Open, Tsitsipas won 2-1 versus Ivashka. Sabalenka won 2-1 versus Adriscu. Djokovic won 2-1 versus Kekmanovic. Sabalenka won 2-1 versus Kontaviet. Tsitsipas won 2-0 versus Dimitrov. Swiatek won 2-0 versus Raducanu. Tsitsipas lost 2-1 versus Alcaraz. Sabalenka won 2-0 versus Badoza. Djokovic won 2-1 versus Kachanov. Swiatek won 2-1 versus Samisnova. Swiatek won 2-0 versus Sabalenka to win the women's singles Porsche Tennis Grand Prix. Rublev won 2-1 versus Djokovic to win the men's singles Serbia Open. Scherz and Kazik, I definitely butchered that, but you know, won 2-0 versus Guof and Zhang to win the women's doubles Porsche Tennis Grand Prix. Alcaraz won 2-0 versus Carreno Busta to win the men's singles Barcelona Open. And yeah, that was all the tennis news. Moving on to the baseball news now. Red Sox lost 8-3 versus Twins. Dodgers won 7-4 versus Braves. Giants won 5-4 versus Mets. Dodgers lost 3-1 versus Mets. Yankees won 4-2 versus Tigers. Red Sox won 2-1 versus Blue Jays. Dodgers lost 3-1 versus Braves. Dodgers won 5-1 versus Braves. Yankees won 5-3 versus Tigers. The Red Sox lost 6-1 versus Blue Jays. Giants won 5-2 versus Mets. Giants lost 6-2 versus Mets. Yankees lost 3-0 versus Tigers. Red Sox lost 3-2 versus Blue Jays. Yankees won 4-1 versus Guardians. Giants won 7-1 versus Nationals. Red Sox won 4-3 versus Rays. Dodgers won 6-1 versus Padres. Giants won 5-2 versus Nationals. Yankees won 5-4 versus Guardians. Red Sox lost 3-2 versus Rays. Dodgers lost 3-2 versus Padres. Dodgers lost 5-2 versus Rays. Yankees won 10-2 versus Guardians. Giants won 12-3 versus Nationals. And Dodgers won 10-2 versus Padres. And yeah, that is all the baseball news. Moving on to the football news. Derby have been relegated. Cadiz won 1-0 versus Barcelona. Napoli drew 1-1 versus Roma. Inter won 3-0 versus Milan. Liverpool won 4-0 versus Man U. Arsenal won 4-2 versus Chelsea. Newcastle won 1-0 versus Palace. Leipzig won 2-1 versus Union Berlin. PSG won 3-0 versus Angers. Everton drew 1-1 versus Leicester. Man City won 3-0 versus Brighton. Juventus won 2-0 versus Fiorentina. Aguero, Drogba, Kompany, Schmeichel, Scholes and Wright are now in the Premier League Hall of Fame. Ten Hag will be the Man United manager next season. Burnley won 2-0 versus Southampton. Barcelona won 1-0 versus Sociedad. Wolfsburg won 5-0 versus Mainz. Barnsley have been relegated. Arsenal won 3-1 versus Man U. Man City won 5-1 versus Watford. Newcastle won 3-0 versus Norwich. Leicester drew 0-0 versus Villa. Inter won 3-1 versus Roma. Spurs drew 0-0 versus Brentford. Bayern won 3-1 versus Dortmund to win the Bundesliga for the 10th time in a row. Peterborough have been relegated. Betis won 5-4 via pens after drawing 1-1 versus Valencia to win the Copa del Rey. Burnley won 1-0 versus Wolves. Empoli won 3-2 versus Napoli. Chelsea won 1-0 versus West Ham. Brighton drew 2-2 versus Southampton. Liverpool won 2-0 versus Everton. Milan won 2-1 versus Lazio. Rayo Vallecano won 1-0 versus Barcelona. And PSG drew 1-1 versus Lens to win to win their 10th league title. So yeah, that is all the football news. Sorry if you can hear my dog barking. I can't really do too much about that, but yeah, that is all the football news. Moving on to the NFL news, where there's only a tiny bit of news, and that is Browns extending Ward. But this next week will be the start of the draft, so lots of things will be going on there. I'm not really too sure how I'm going to report that because there's a lot going on with that, but we'll have to see. Maybe I won't say anything. Maybe I don't know. But moving on to the F1 now. Sainz extending contract with Ferrari. It was the Imola Grand Prix where Verstappen was on pole, Leclerc started second, and Perez started third. In the end, Verstappen won, Sainz finished second, and Norris finished third, with Leclerc spinning out and only getting sixth, and Hamilton finishing 13th, just from a terrible race by Mercedes, and even getting lapped by Verstappen. Alonso and Sainz did not finish, and Verstappen won the Laureus World Sportsman of the Year, so congratulations to him. Moving on to UFC news now. Puelles won via submission in round 1 versus Guaida. But yeah, that is all the UFC news. Moving on to the final sport, which is boxing news, where there's a lot of news this week. Starting with Charlo will rematch Castano on the 14th of May. Hatton returning to the ring on the 2nd of July. Ricky Hatton, that is, making a return at a big age of 43, something that as a boxing fan you love to see. Hopefully everything goes well with that, and we do get to see that exhibition fight. Tommy Fury won via unanimous decision versus Bokianski, and is now really calling out Jake Paul. Adelaide won via TKO in round 4 versus Healy. Joyce will fight Parker in the summer. That's all that's been said so far, but they've just confirmed that fight will be a thing. Ball won via TKO in round 6 versus Lowe to become World Boxing Council Silver Featherweight Champion. Essuman won via unanimous decision versus Tetley to become Commonwealth, British, International and European Welterweight Champion. Fury won via TKO in round 6 versus White to remain WBC World Heavyweight Champion. So congratulations to Tyson Fury. I did predict it in the end kind of right. I mean, I said it would be a bit earlier in the 3rd round, but it took Tyson Fury a little bit longer. He did seem to have to get into his flow a little bit. But I mean, Dillian White was a bit of a confusing fighter from him, as he didn't seem to do what he normally likes to do, where he likes to get up close to the fighter and try and close the gap, which he did seem like he would have had to do if he was going to get anything out of that Tyson Fury fight. But he tried to play on his jab, and even in the corners, when he did try and push him into the corners, he didn't really make the most out of it. So it was poor from Dillian White. I doubt we're going to ever see a rematch with them two, even though he does want one, as he was talking today about wanting one, but I doubt that'll ever happen. I doubt we'll see him retire, even though he says that he probably will. I think he might fight Ngannou in that hybrid fight, which I'll be definitely up for. But obviously I still would like him to fight either Anthony Joshua or Usyk to unify the weight class. But we'll have to wait and see. Maybe he will even go into WWE, which has been rumours of possibly happening, but that's just kind of up in the air at the moment, so we'll have to wait and see. It's all in his court to do whatever he wants. But what a legend he is, and if it is his last fight, then great way to end it, great uppercut, and yeah, what a fighter. Natalizzi won via unanimous decision versus Muella to become WBC International Silver Superweight Champion, and Zuko won via stoppage in round 2 versus Nikolic to become WBC International Super Middleweight Champion. And yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you have enjoyed. Like the video if you didn't, like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.